Here. Okay, this time we'll entertain matters of interest to council members for items not on the agenda. Councilmember Duncan.
I would just like to hear about the upcoming swim dates, when they'll be scheduled for Del Oro Swim in the future.
Yeah, Roger has actually been working with Del Oro and the Dolphins on that, so I'll let
You want the dates right now? It's every Saturday, every Friday afternoon, starting with the first Friday in June through the last Friday in July, with some exceptions. We're going to try a couple of exceptions because the Dolphins can't do all of them. There's a couple of dates that they can't do. July 5th they don't want to do. But we're going to try and talk to maybe another organization who might provide lifeguards. So right now we've got the pool for every Friday afternoon from June and July.
Thank you, Roger. Any other items of council members' interest? Okay, seeing hearing none. Town manager report.
The only thing that I wanted to talk about quickly, and I apologize for my voice, I've got a cold that my 5-year-old generously passed on, so one of our new town employees is here, Sarah Comstock, the community engagement librarian at the library. At the last meeting, council gave direction to bring the library operations under the town umbrella, and so we were able to do that actually effective the 1st of March. So we have 3 new town employees, 2 part-timers, 1 full-timer, and Sarah's still at the library making sure things are running.
Great, thank you. Okay, Loomis Chamber update and library update. Hi, Jenny.
Good evening, Mayor Andoko and council members. Just real quickly, things are really busy right now. We're working on the new Discover Loomis guide, and that will be done in time for the State of the Town. And so we're working on the State of the Town, which is April 3rd at the Blue Booth.
Jenny, we're going to pause for just a second while this train goes by.
Okay.
Excuse us. It's not so bad. You want to just speak louder into the microphone?
Oh, you want me to be loud?
Sometimes horn can be.
Okay, well there are some Discover Loomis guides in the back from last year, so if you haven't seen one, you can pick one up, and there are invites to the State of the Town back there on the table in the back. So I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to help co-host that. That's something that's been a goal for the chamber for like 5 years, so I really appreciate that. And then tomorrow we're going to a joint chamber government relations meeting with Auburn and Rockland, Roseville, Loomis, Lincoln, and we're just going to have our first eggplant meeting tomorrow. And then we have upcoming events that we have. The Loomis Community Yard Sale will be May 4th, and the Loomis Friday Night Family Fest, the first one will be May 10th. And then the library, I'm going to let Sarah come up with your library.
Jenny, do we have a date for the Eggplant Festival?
October 5th.
Okay, thank you.
It's always the first Saturday, right, Jenny?
Yes, first Saturday.
First Saturday of October, for future reference.
Okay.
Okay. Just a quick correction. We actually have 4 new town employees because we started another part-timer today. It was her first day today. So, but other than that, we actually finalized our strategic plan today as well. So that goes to the library board for final approval on the 25th. And then also what we've been working on is our summer reading program. We're having a kickoff party June 8th. And it's going to last until July 21st, I believe is the last day of that. Our theme is it's showtime at the library, and so we're going to have a bunch of different really fun activities every week, events, including we're going to be showing movies once a week, every Saturday. So that's it from the library.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, this time we'll move to public comment. This time is reserved for individuals in the audience who wish to address the council on subjects that are not on the agenda. The audience should be aware that the council may not discuss details or vote on non-agenda items. Your concerns may be referred to staff or placed on the next available agenda. Public comment? State your name and address for the record, please.
Roger Smith, 6755 Wells Avenue. Good evening, Council. First of all, I want to commend the Council on the idea, and the Chamber on the idea of the State of the Town event. That's a great event. I think it's overdue, and I think there should be a good turnout for that, so thank you. I'll be there. In terms of the agenda, I expected to see on the future agenda items on your agenda that there would still be something about the possibility of access to I-80 from King Road. That had been carried along as a future agenda item, and I don't consider that a dead item yet by any means. As part of the village discussions, it was decided, yes, that there would be room area-wise in that area to have future ramps if we could get Caltrans to buy in on that in the engineering, from the engineering layout standpoint. But that, I think, should be a continuing future agenda item, very, very important item to the town with all the development that's going on around here. Also, just wanted to make the council aware, if they're not, that there is yet another large development coming in thanks to Sierra College on Sierra College Boulevard. And I understand the town has written a comment letter on that big development project right on Sierra College Boulevard, 70+ acres, 400 to 500 homes on that big vacant piece of land right opposite Sierra College. So you have the 200 apartments on the south side of Rockland Road, you have 400 some homes on the north side on 75 acres, plus the Costco, all the other development going on. Big, big things right on our border. So certainly of interest to our Borders Committee, and also I'm really pleased that the town did write a comment letter on the preparation of the environmental impact report for this latest bunch of development that's coming there on Sierra College on the 75 acres. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roger.
Ava Marshall, 3367 Kathy Way. Kind of just a procedural thing that I've noticed and I thought should be brought to somebody's attention is that on some of the paperwork through the Planning Commission and then the Planning Department, there's been a discrepancy between whether the appeal time is 5 days or 10 days. So that's just kind of more of an administrative thing, and I just wanted to bring it to somebody's attention that maybe somebody in the office can rectify or clarify that so it's consistent throughout all the appeal processes, whether it's town or planning. That's it.
Thank you.
Good evening. Miguel Yukovich, 5911 Great Court, Loomis. I'm up here to re-emphasize what Roger Smith said, but with a little bit more emphasis. As far as the King Road overcrossing, there was one study done, and it's kind of been put on future agendas. What I'm asking the council to do is form a committee to meet with Caltrans, Placer County Transportation Commission, and maybe our state, our federal congressman, to look into the possibility. Now, I know there's a lot of statements about it's too close and things of this nature, but there are other exceptions. So to move this one way or the other, is to have a committee to meet and come up with some definitive action or definitive answers about the question, can you put on an on-ramp, on and off-ramp at King Road? Thank you.
Thank you.
William Quell Sr., 6280 Horseshoe Bar Road. I got the green light. I figured he'd give me the red light. If any of you follow the Loomis Community Post network and internet stuff, there seems to be a real uptick in speeding. Lots of complaints about speeding just about everywhere. I live on Horseshoe Bar. It's a 25 zone in front of my house, and that's the number they just passed going by the house. I've already had 3 wrecks in front of my house, $28,000 in damage. So speeding is a little concern to me. In addition to that, we seem to have a problem, and it's very hard to police, with outsiders basically driving off the roads at Penryn and in Penryn exit and Horseshoe Bar exit, and going on the back roads at night and basically helping themselves to whatever they find not bolted, locked, or welded down. I don't know how to stop this. I had people slow down in front of my house. I had somebody park in front of my house the other day, and I actually went out and took their license plate with my camera. So, but the speeding is really an issue, especially on the back roads. I just came in today from Auburn Folsom down Laird, and I pulled over a couple times because I'm doing the speed limit, and they're just flying. And we need to look at how to do that. I know we don't have enough deputy sheriffs to do that, but it's becoming a serious problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members from the public wishing to address the council? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move to adoption of the agenda. I'm going to propose moving up the moving item 19 to the front here without objection, unless there's objection. And then we are going to we're going to continue item 16.
Yeah, so item number 16 is a public hearing for the Golden Spikes building. Because it was a published, noticed public hearing, you need to open the public hearing. And if people do want to speak, you need to allow them to speak, but you can't. I would not advise you to take action tonight because the one appellant side is here, the other side is not here. And because they weren't able to be here, we can't actually hold the public hearing. But because it's been advertised, you need to allow folks to speak if they want to.
Okay, we'll address that when we get there. Okay. We have a motion to accept the
Motion
agenda.
to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Noes? Okay, adoption of the agenda. Okay, we'll move to comment on the consent calendar. Any council members wishing to pull anything on the consent? Public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing and hearing none.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda items 1 through 15D.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, consent passes. Okay, let's move to item 19, referendum petitions. Okay, staff report, please.
I'll actually turn this over to our esteemed counsel here and he'll take care of that for us.
All right, thank you, Sean. All right, so as the council knows, in January you approved took a series of actions related to the Village of Loomis project, including the adoption of a number of resolutions and 2 ordinances. Am I too far away?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Sorry. And I have a cold too, so bear with me. The staff report contains the timeline that are related to this, but I'm going to kind of cheat and look at it. On February 20th, referendum petitions against the 2 ordinances that were part of that approval process were submitted to the town clerk. After she counted the number of signatures to make sure there were a sufficient number, there needed to be 450 sufficient signatures. She passed that along to the Placer County clerk for verification of signatures. I also reviewed the petitions just for the purpose of determining that the petitions themselves were in the proper form and confirmed that they were. And then shortly after that, the Placer County clerk notified the town that there were sufficient verified signatures to satisfy the requirement of at least 450. And so, under Elections Code, given that there were sufficient verified signatures on the 2 referenda on the 2 ordinances, that now comes to the council. The council has 2 choices at this time. Given that we have sufficient verified signatures certified by the county, the ordinances are suspended. The council is required to reconsider, and by reconsidering it means you have 2 choices. You can either initiate a process to repeal the 2 ordinances, or you can place the 2 ordinances on the ballot for a popular vote. That vote would either be at the next regular Loomis municipal election, which would not be until November of 2020, or at a special election date that is at least 88 days from tonight. The first available date that is more than 88 days is June 18th. That is the date that I believe Placer County has recommended, so as not to conflict with a special election that they're holding on the 4th. But you could set it on any Tuesday, the criteria laid out there. It has to be a Tuesday. It can't be a holiday or the day before or after a holiday. Other than that, it can be any Tuesday. Now, the town manager mentioned that the county had indicated there was an outside limit on that. I'm not aware of an outside number of days, 135 days. But since the county appears to have asserted that, my suggestion would be if you don't want to do it on the 18th, then you do it within that range that the county has indicated. You have plenty of Tuesdays that you can pick if you're not going to do the 18th. The process at this point would be, if you decide to repeal it, you would do first reading of an ordinance that's in the packet, and then we would come back at your next meeting and you would consider and potentially approve that second ordinance. If you adopt that ordinance, the two ordinances, Ordinance 275 and 276, will be repealed, and the town cannot bring forward a similar ordinance for 1 year. If you go the route of an election, then there's a process laid out very similar to other ballot measure items. There's an opportunity for the council to prepare an argument in favor. There are opportunities for folks to prepare an argument against, and you can direct that I prepare an impartial analysis. All of those actions are laid out in the resolution that's attached, I believe, as attachment C to your staff report. It's important that folks understand what the resolution, or what voting on the measures means. So effectively, when sufficient petitions are submitted to place an item on the ballot as a referendum, instead of the council being the final decision maker on whether that ordinance will go into effect, the town voters will be. And so the item would be on the ballot as, should the town of Loomis adopt this ordinance that does the following things. And therefore, a yes vote would be to approve the ordinance, the same ordinance you approved. A no vote would be not to approve it. The ordinance can't be changed between now and the time it would appear on the ballot. And I would explain all that in the impartial analysis, but I want to make sure that people aren't confused what a yes and a no means. Yes means you would want, voters would want the ordinance to go into effect. No would mean the ordinance should not go into effect. And I'm prepared to answer questions at this point.
Questions, comments from the council? Councilman Duncan.
My question is regarding how the ordinances 275, the plan development, and 276, the development agreement, are tied to the resolutions that were voted on at the same time. By repealing the ordinance 275, 276, would we be repealing the resolutions as well, just by naming the ordinances 275 and 276, or would we have to repeal each resolution by number? And
good question.
In reading the ordinance 277, it does not refer to any resolutions.
The only items that were submitted, that a referendum petition was submitted on, were the two ordinances. There were also a series of resolutions, and don't hold me this exactly. One of the resolutions was the general plan changes. That is considered a legislative act, could have been referended, was not. And so that general plan amendment is in effect. Your general plan has been changed. If you want to undo that, you would have to go through the same process to adopt the general plan amendment and change it. The other resolutions, one was to approve the map. That could not be subject to a referendum because that's considered an adjudicatory matter, not a legislative matter. And the other resolution, I believe, was to adopt a specific development plan. If Ordinance 275 is repealed, then that resolution has no effect. And neither does the resolution approving the map, because the map and that other resolution depend on the zoning changes in order for them to be able to go into effect.
So that would be ordinance 275, resolution 1902 and 1903, or?
I'll defer to Cricket on the resolution numbers, but.
Oh gee, I don't have it in front of me.
But I think there were, as I recall, there were 5 actions, and Cricket maybe can check me on this. One was a resolution of the general plan change. 2 were ordinances, the ordinances that were submitted, that referendums were submitted on. And then the other 2 were resolutions that relate to approving the subdivision map for the project and the specific development plan, and maybe the design guidelines, I'm not sure on that. The subdivision map can't be, if the zoning change is overturned, so if ordinance 275 is not adopted, then the map can't be, they can't move forward with the map because the zoning would be inconsistent with the map. And the other resolution, similarly, if you strike down, or if voters do not approve ordinance 275, then the resolution that adopted the specific development plan can't go into effect.
Okay, so what I have on 275 is, it refers to 1901, which is the EIR. I believe it says 1901
Oh, true, there was a you're right, there was a resolution certifying the EIR.
And then on concurrent with the consideration of the resolution 1902, approving changes to the general plan, and that is under ordinance 275 also.
No, so I want to be very clear.
Yeah, that's why I
Entirely
want
different things.
clarity.
In the hierarchy of land use planning in California, is the general plan is the top or the base, depending on how you want to look at it. Everything has to be consistent with the general plan. So when the council adopted a resolution approving and certifying the environmental document, that was not challenged.
Right.
So that EIR is final and certified and not subject to challenge. The general plan was changed via the resolution. That change is final, cannot be challenged at this point. The 2 ordinances were challenged by referendum, and so those are now suspended. But the general plan is done. If you want to change the general plan back to the way it was, you'll have to initiate a whole process. It'll go through the planning commission and then back to the council again.
Okay, so what that means is the general plan has changed, so we're not comparing to the old general plan prior to, what, December 10th, January 8th, when the vote on resolution 1902 took effect. So we're not comparing the standards, height requirements, setbacks.
I'm not sure comparing what to that.
Well, the changes of 1902, it makes changes set to the general plan.
Correct.
And we can't change,
Well, you can change it, but you'd have to start the general plan amendment process over.
Okay, but as far as the vote on the ordinance, that won't affect 1902.
Correct.
So whatever those standards were under 1902 regarding height requirements and lot sizes and setbacks.
And the general plan land use designation.
Right.
The change from residential or from commercial to residential.
So
that is in effect.
So now we're comparing, when we go on to a vote, the comparison to what the general plan was and to what it is now, what it exists as now is 1902. Because of 1902, that won't have any effect on it.
Right. So if you decide to go the route of placing on the ballot and ordinance 275 is not approved, the situation on the ground will be that the zoning designation of those properties in part is inconsistent with the general plan, which means that someday, if there's some future development proposal, that will have to be addressed. The property owner would have to either change the general plan to be consistent with the zoning or change zoning to be consistent with the general plan in order for any development activity to occur on that site. And I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to get into the details of what portion of the property was replanned. If that's important, we can bring that back and describe that, and we could do that before a vote if that was something that the council wanted. I know this is confusing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Well, yeah, I just
navigate through it.
I wanted to be clear on what's happening as far as the resolutions go, and if you repeal the ordinance, and you answered my question. That's what I wanted to be clear on, so thanks.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I have a question on section 5 of the resolution. That's the direction that we go. And may I ask him, or Mayor, if it does say that you will have the authority to prepare a written argument, and I just wanted to maybe ask if you wanted to do that, or if you wanted all of us to do that with you, or what did you feel, what were your thoughts on that?
So if the entire council coordinates that message, then we'd have to have a meeting on it. My preference would be to do it alone or with one other council member. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, at this time we will ask the applicant. We still call him an applicant anymore? Property owner, how about that? Property owner, please make a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Underko, and members of the Town Council. I'm Todd Lowell. I am the owner and developer of the Village Project. I ask, please, that you vote to hold a special election on June 18th on the referendum. The Town Council voted 4-1 to approve the Village at Loomis project after 15 public hearings of the Planning Commission and the Town Council. The project was revised over the course of these hearings in response to public comment, modifications by the Planning Commission, and further revisions by the Town Council. Over 50 lots were eliminated. The Council's approvals include a zoning change to plan development and a development agreement. The referendum seeks to overturn these. The plan development designation limits the number of housing units that can be built on the property and creates specific development standards for this town center location. The plan development restricts development to 381 housing units, which includes the 129 multifamily units already zoned by the Council with the adoption of the housing element in 2014. This cap on housing units is significantly less than how many can be developed under current zoning. The development agreement provides benefits to the town that could not otherwise have been obtained through conditions of approval or mitigation measures. These benefits include the construction of the town's planned downtown road improvements, specifically Dock Barnes Drive, and the extension of Webb Street. Dock Barnes Drive from Horseshoe Bar Road to King Road will be an alternative route through downtown, be constructed at the project's expense, and completed at the beginning of the project. Webb Street will be extended to a new intersection of Webb Street, Library Drive, and Horseshoe Bar Road to improve downtown circulation. The agreement benefits also include the construction of over 5 acres of parks, over 1 mile of trails, and the creation of public open space, and funding for the maintenance of these parks and the open space. The agreement additionally includes funding for increased public safety. The project implements the vision of the Town Center Master Plan. In closing, based upon the merits and benefits of the project, I ask that you please vote to hold a special election on June 18th on the referendum. Thank you.
Comments or questions? Todd? Okay. Seeing, hearing none. We're going to open it up to public comment right now. Members from the public, please come forward. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Jackie Pissier. I live at 5713 King Road. Anyway, I didn't write anything. I just want to bring up one thing. If we go to the vote, I would hope that when you write your argument in favor of, or however you write your argument with regard to the ballot measure, that you give plenty of time to those of us who might have opposing views to come up with our contrasting opinion for any kind of printed material. I know that in past elections, they'll wait until the very last minute, and then there's no time for the opposing argument. So I hope that, as you mentioned, you'll be doing it yourself or with one other council person. Hopefully you'll allow plenty of time before any mailer goes out to the town, so that we can, those of us who may not necessarily agree with your description, can come up with our contrasting.
Well, to clarify, that timeline is not set by myself. It's set in election code.
That's correct. There's very specific timelines, both for the arguments in favor and the arguments against, and then the rebuttals to the arguments in favor and against. And so I can, before we get anywhere close to that, if that's the direction the council goes, if you'd like, I can provide the specific dates. I don't have them ready at my fingertips, but
please do.
But they are specifically called out by statute.
Yeah, we'll get a calendar of events that we go that direction.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening here. My name is Cheryl Hadley. I own 3495 Laird Street. I just want the town council members to keep in mind the number of opposition votes that we got in a relatively short amount of time. That the people, I think, know what we want, and I hope that you look out for your people that are voting. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Quenville, 6280 Horseshoe Bar Road. Mr. Mitchell, I have concern with the yes and no vote thing. We went through this on a state issue for the state fuel tax, where everybody thought they were voting one way and their vote actually meant the other. So a yes vote means keep the village, and no vote means keep the referendum. And I think that's going to confuse the hell out of the voters. Just my personal opinion.
I hear you, but again, the rules are laid out in the statutes. Like the form of the question that will be on the ballot is specifically called out by statute, and it is important that people understand what the difference would be.
So is that going to be explained?
I will try to explain it in my impartial analysis, but I am, I'll defer to the council on any other form of explanation that we want.
Don't Jared Brown.
Thank you.
My goal will be to explain it in a way that is understood. I have 500 words. So.
Under 500 words?
That's my limit, and I'm a lawyer, so 500 words. Sorry.
Thank you. And I'm still a flannel.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
My name's Pam Blake. I live on Angelo Drive. I've spoken many times. I also walked my neighborhood, so I would like to see a special election where the people in the town limits can vote on this, because the majority of the people for it that talked in December were not town of Loomis residents. And I just wanted to I walk my neighborhood. That's how I met Jeff, because he was walking my neighborhood before the election. And so I was out many days, cricket, because we turned in all those signatures. So that's what I would like to see. And also I want to point out something that's on your Welcome to Loomis, California webpage. The town of Loomis is a quaint, family-oriented community. Established in 1850, incorporated in 1984, Loomis retains its rural character and charm with its large residential lots and custom homes. This development is not the right development for Loomis. You have on your webpage large residential lots. I don't mind development. I'd like to see something more like what Tim has, where he lives over there off of Taylor Road with 10,000 square foot with custom homes. He's got a very nice home. I went to an open house.
It's not custom.
Oh, well, it's very nice, because I went to an open house over there, and it was much nicer than my home down the street. So that's my 10 cents. I see some other people here that help with signatures, and I just want to point out that this is me on the front page getting signatures for this, and I feel it is very important that it comes to the voters. I've lived here for almost 34 years, and I'd like to keep it, you know, small town, like a family. Thank you.
Good evening, Miguel Yukovich, 5911 Great Court, Loomis, California. I have a question now. I'm a little bit confused. It was stated that the general plan was changed. So the zoning that they had originally, which was commercial, has been changed to what they requested, basically residential and a mixed-use commercial. So that part of the general plan has been changed.
It's going to be important, and I'll try to do this whenever necessary. We have to distinguish the general plan from zoning.
Yes.
Two different bodies of town-adopted law. The general plan has been changed. The zoning was changed by Ordinance 275. That ordinance is now suspended because of the referendum petitions. And the council tonight is being asked to decide one of two choices, either repeal that or put it on the ballot. If they put it on the ballot and it fails, does not pass, then there will be an inconsistency between the general plan designation and the zoning. But it's important to know that the general plan designation is the controlling designation.
Do you know what that general plan designation is?
It's whatever the village project proposed. So a mix of resident. I don't want to try to.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's what they proposed for that. It's shown on the zoning map up there as commercial. It's what they requested. So basically, then they would not need a PD zone for at least that anyway. Now, that's.
I would like to. As much as we can, I'd like to avoid speculating on what would happen.
No, I'm just trying to find out what actually happened. So
what happened is the general plan was changed.
And that will stay in effect regardless of a vote?
Yes, unless the town changes it.
And so that did not have to go to the planning commission or anything, the town council could.
No, it would have to change the general plan would require it to go to the planning commission and the council, notice public hearings.
But they changed the general plan?
Yes, that is in effect.
Yeah, without going to the planning commission?
No, they went to the planning commission anyway.
Okay.
The council, approved the general plan amendment in January, after having gone to the planning commission. That's why I looked this direction.
Okay, that's why I wasn't sure of that. Well, I would strongly support having the election in June or whenever, and that way the residents of Loomis can decide what they want. Although the only concern I have is that the council, you, changed the general plan. And so, that's the concern I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Andrea Pickens, Newcastle. I'm not sure if the date for if the special election is voted on for June 18th is the firm date, but I believe, I just wanted to bring to attention that I believe it's the Delrose last day of school or day after, same with Loomis Grammar, I believe. So it might be a time where there's not a lot of people and it would be a very low voter turnout. So if there's an alternative date for a better voter turnout, maybe that's something that could be discussed, because it's a pretty rough time of year for people.
Jenny Nisley, 4135 Hunters Drive, Loomis, California. And I'm in favor for you to put it to a special election on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
ordinance, superintendent, Loomis Union School District. Just to clarify the last comment, I believe the date that you set, that you've discussed is June 18th. I believe our last day of school is June, I want to say 5th, 6th. I don't have a calendar, but it's in that first week. I don't want to pull my phone out and look at a calendar in front of everybody. I don't know if it's a mail-in ballot or it's an election where you come to the polls. I believe it's a mail-in. If it's a mail-in ballot, there's a period of time, if I'm not correct.
We are not, the resolution does not set this up as an all-mail ballot. People can, of course, mail in their ballots.
Okay.
But it's not intended to be just only by mail.
Okay. With regard, we house many of the polling places for the community. We definitely make sure those are available, whatever that case is. I do also support it going actually to the voters. I think that it's a discussion that's gone on a long time in this community. From the district standpoint, I think you know that the developer's been very gracious in negotiations with regards to mitigating the impacts of the development on the school district. I won't go into details because I think you've all heard it probably enough. But I just want to thank you for the efforts that you have. And I know you have a very difficult decision, and whatever direction you go, we will continue to support the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susan Dobies. I live at 5570 Arcadia Avenue. And I just wanted to say that I also support an election happening so that the town can speak. I also appreciate Mr. Duncan's efforts to make things clear and transparent, because I believe that's very important for all of us to understand clearly what's going on. And it did get a little bit difficult to understand with the ordinance and with the general plan, because I thought that the wording, I can't remember the exact wording of the ordinance, I believe 275, I get them mixed up, said something about reversing zoning changes. So if that's the case, I'm wondering what was the reason for an ordinance if there was already a resolution that had been passed and that would take precedence. So I would sure love to understand that a little bit more clearly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinances, zoning code changes must be done by ordinance. It's a different process. It requires the council to basically act twice on an ordinance to put it into effect. The general plan can be amended by resolution, and that's typically, in fact, I don't know any community that doesn't do it by resolution. You need both general plan and zoning to line up for any development project to go forward. So, but in the event of a conflict between the general plan and zoning, general plan controls. By controls in this case, I mean a project that is inconsistent with the general plan cannot be approved. Right? A project that is, if the outcome of this is that the ordinance 275 is not approved by the voters, there will be an inconsistency between the general plan land use designation and the zoning designation. That's not the end of the world. It just means that until that inconsistency is resolved sometime in the future, there won't be any development that can occur because you have an inconsistency between those two land use documents. How that will be rectified, there are lots of different ways it can happen. But they have to eventually line up in order for some sort of development to occur. And I'm only offer one suggestion, and otherwise I'll stick in my box. My suggestion is folks should focus on this process, and maybe we'll try to minimize the speculation as to what will play out someday down the line if either the ordinance is approved or isn't approved. Because it's going to be difficult for folks to not get confused by the different pieces of this. And so I will do what I can to try to keep it simple. I'll do what I can to try to keep it simple.
Okay. Any other public comment?
No, you go ahead.
Hello everyone, I live at 3495, my name is Michael Morris. I would like to also support the push towards a vote by the public. My primary concern is the amount of propaganda that was being pushed around the last December vote. I don't know if there's anything we can do to limit that, but it seems like with all the confusion everyone's talking about with just getting people on the same page about whether it's a yes or a no for which way you want to vote, I'm concerned that there might be a lot of misinformation being pumped upon the public who might be unaware of that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Kyle Black, 6347 David Avenue. I just want to make sure that, you guys all, take a really close look at the fact that over 450 people, I don't know if it'll ever be made public, how many people actually took time out of their day to sign that document, let alone the amount of time and hours that was put in to actually gathering all those signatures. I hope that someday you guys kind of look at that. I would love to know someday. I think that'd be really good information if it is public information, just to see how many people directly oppose the actions that were taken on a discretionary basis by the council. So keep in mind that you're public servants and you're here to represent your people, and your people directly told you that what you did was wrong, or at least not consistent with what we voted for, because you are our representatives. And so please make sure that you take that to heart while you're writing, whether you're a counter argument or for argument, especially if it's just the two of you colluding in one corner about your thoughts. Remember, we voted for all 5 of you. And so it would be nice to maybe have all 5 of you working on a document like that versus just 1 or maybe 2. 2 seems a little shady in my opinion. 1, okay, if that's the rules, but breaking from the rules just so that the 2 of you can sit in the corner and type out a document doesn't seem very right to me, or fair to the rest of the council members. So would love to see that. Other than that, that's really all I have. I'm very thankful for everyone here today, and thankful for the fact that you guys do serve us, and we just pray that you serve our best interests and not the best interests of easy money for a school district or easy money for this or taking time out of my day for that. We just hope that who you represent is who you're actually representing, not the people that pay you. So that's all I got. Thank you.
To answer your question about the actual number, it's in the staff report on page 2.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
James Gilbert, 5491 Myrtle Drive, Loomis, and I'm on the board of the Loomis Senior Center. And if there could be somehow in the development of the village, in the design of the village, if there could be, especially in the places where there's small lots, small homes, single story for seniors, granted that it's self-serving on our part, because senior citizens would be able to walk to shopping, they wouldn't have to drive very far. So if in the planning of the village there could be something designated as senior housing with lots of handicap parking spots, that would be a benefit.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Oh, one more. Come on through.
I'm wondering if the vote of the special election will be based on the developer's existing plan, or will he be making even more changes in the next few months? Can anyone answer that?
Yes, the vote will be on exactly what the council approved.
Okay, because there's so many issues wrong with the village development, but I would like to address one point that concerns privacy between neighbors. That is ordinance 13.42.265, which is titled Residential Uses second stories. This town law basically says that no two-story structure shall be built adjacent to an already existing home. The developer chose to ignore this ordinance until the residents affected spoke up at meeting after meeting, writing letter after letter, until he finally conceded, promising to build 21 single-story houses that back up to David Avenue, Silver Ranch, and Sun Knoll. However, by still planning to build two-story houses behind our neighbors on Laird, as well as the two homes on the corner of Horseshoe Bar and Laird, he is blatantly violating our town laws. These 17 additional homes are all adjacent to his property and as such are also entitled to privacy protection from two-story houses as stated in the ordinance. Without the town council to enforce this ordinance, it's another example of why so many Loomis residents lack trust in this developer and all those who approve of his unethical actions.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to bring it back to council. Comments, questions of the council, staff? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we go to a special election on June, was it 18th? June 18th. Unless that doesn't work, then to the closest Tuesday after that.
I've got, okay, thank you. We're going to hold that. I've got a couple comments that I want to make. First of all, I think the election is going to be a great way and opportunity for people to better understand why council made the decision it did. I think people will find themselves in a similar situation as we did. For most people, it comes down to one single issue, and that's density. Density is tied to traffic, and people are not happy about the proposed traffic. At the center of council's decision is the fact that council does not have absolute discretion. We didn't have it. We couldn't just say we want to do whatever we wanted. And voters won't be able to do the same either. The property was zoned for commercial and residential over 30 years ago before any of us were elected. So we were handed something that already had decisions made to it. Something is going to be built there, and the approved plan guarantees lesser density than what is otherwise allowable. As it stands with the approved project, density is 8 units per acre currently in the approved project. If the plan is overturned, the density will revert back to 10 units per acre. If there's one takeaway from all of this, it's that our current zoning allows for multifamily at a higher level of density in the general commercial area of the project. Who wants to see more multifamily and less single-family units? I don't. Council's decision to amend the general plan to allow single-family homes instead of multifamily units is a major upgrade and should be applauded from the people who want less density. It's exactly what we got. Without the general plan amendment, the property owner says he'll build a higher density project that's consistent with the general plan. This can be done without council approval because it's consistent with the current zoning. If people want more density, higher density, multifamily, instead of less dense, single-family homes, they should vote to overturn the project. For me, it's simple. I don't want to see higher density. I say no to higher density. This referendum exposes the town to higher density and fewer benefits. That's a loss all the way around.
I have a comment.
Councilman Baker, I'm done.
Throughout this project, we've heard a lot of things, and we've heard a lot of things in both directions for and against this project. We've heard both factual information and false information, and we've had people up here talking about rhetoric. Tonight we got a great example of some of the rhetoric. There's buzzwords like colluding. No, that's actual law. That's what that is. That's called the Brown Act, and if all of us work on it, we have a problem. What I would like is for people to understand we have a representative republic. We had an election in November. The people voted. The people who they voted for are sitting here. Okay, so we started there. Now, where we are. And I'm okay with this going to a special election. But what I want is for the rhetoric and name calling and false accusations and going after people to go away. And let's just stick to the facts of the case. That's what we as a council are elected to do. We are elected to read documents, look at facts, and make decisions off of those facts. I don't make decisions off of emotions. I don't make decisions off of shoulda, wouldas, and couldas. It's facts that I make decisions off of. So what I ask is, cut it out. Stick to the facts. If there's a fact of the case that you dispute or you want a question on, ask the question. But to put false accusations out in either direction, I don't care if it's for or against, I want it to stop. We're adults. We teach our kids not to be bullies. And yet here we are, acting like bullies. So, let's go forward with this. I say it goes to special election.
Okay, we have a motion. That sounds like a second.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call, please.
Councilmember Morales? Yes. Baker?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Clark Wentz?
Yes.
Mayor Underhill?
Yes. Okay. Resolution passes.
I'd like to just say on top of Brian's thing, the only money I receive to be on this council comes as a salary from the town of Loomis, which comes from the citizens sitting here tonight. I don't take money from anybody else. And I'm tired of being accused of that during this time. So that's just one more thing. We don't get money from anybody that's sitting in this audience individual. We get it through coming through the town itself.
I don't think your light's on.
It is. It's on. I don't know, the green light's on, so I don't know what to tell you, but I don't take money from anybody that's sitting in this audience.
Thank you, Rhonda. Okay, we're going to move to item 16, minor use permit appeal. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Hi, Mary Jo.
Hello there. This public hearing matter for tonight, at the request of Golden Spikes Baseball, scheduling conflict, they contacted me today and asked for the matter to be open and continued to the next meeting. You are able to take public comment at this time, but no decision. And then when it comes back at the April meeting, that public comment would open again for continued public comment and then the review and consideration.
Okay, thank you. So, council members, questions, comments on this item? Let's open it up for public comment.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, because one of the two applicants is not present, while it is appropriate for you to open the public hearing and accept testimony, it would be preferable if folks would hold comments until both of the applicants, the appellants, are here to hear their comments. That would be my suggestion, but as Meredith has stated, it was a notice public hearing, so folks who come out tonight and want to speak on it.
Okay, let's open it up for public comment and then we'll bring it back to council. Hi.
Hello, my name is Pam Blake, Angelo Drive. I was actually here at the last Planning Commission meeting, and there was both the homeowners were here plus the business was here, and I spoke about having a compromise done, but now I have changed that to no compromise because the property owners should be able to enjoy their property, and that Golden Spike Baseball, when they moved in, they knew what they were getting into with, and I've actually driven back there, and it's pretty close to the residential, the residences. So, and only one person voted no, which was Gene Wilson, who I see over there. So this gets continued next month. I'm going to say the same thing, that the property owners should be able to enjoy their property, and that those doors stay closed all the time, or I hate to lose a Loomis business, but it might have to be that if they don't put in fans or upgrade. And I just joined a softball team. I know they have the noise ordinance that was done, but it's a repetitive noise off of a bat. And I was playing last night and I decided no, because that's what we were doing last night, and I'm for the property owners, so I take that what I said last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Heather.
My name's Jerry Wolf. I live at 3347 Kathy Way. I'm directly behind their front door. My backyard is. And that constant sound of that aluminum bat hitting that ball, ping, 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 during the summertime is extremely loud, extremely annoying. And if they can't afford to put an air conditioner or a swamp cooler or something in that thing, they shouldn't have the business. There's no reason for the front door to be open. Open the back door, blow your air out there. But between that and the cars leaving at night and all the kids getting riled up and different things going on, it's extremely loud, extremely annoying, and there's no reason for it to be there. I've been there 15 years, and then they came in and we were subjected to this, and it's ridiculous. And I hope that they keep their doors closed.
Thank you.
I'm Nanette Jajorian, 3357 Kathy Way. Again, Jerry and I are directly behind this business, and I just feel that the way the original ordinance was written, those noise producing activities and that the doors should remain closed at all times should be held. And again, it's a very hot area, and if you are going to run a physically active business in there, you're going to need some sort of better insulation and cooling system in order to make people comfortable. And there's not much space between, their back and our wall, and that metal bat is an extremely sharp, repetitive, and unpredictable sort of sound as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin Marshall. I live at 3367 Kathy Way, just behind the business, and I really agree the business really should insulate. It should put in air conditioning so that they don't have to open their doors. We go into summertime, it gets extremely hot, and there's no way they can operate without opening their doors. They shouldn't be there, or they should pay to have these things done. That's about it.
Thank you.
Ava Marshall, 3367 Kathy Way. I acknowledge that I will hold off my formal comments to the appeal process, and I'm hoping that you will allow me the same amount of time as an appeal applicant as Golden Spikes will get, because so far I've been restricted to the 3-minute comment sections in any of the public hearings that I've been at. I would like to throw out a suggestion. This is very generic to the light industrial or limited industrial zone. There are multiple businesses back there that do not adhere to the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In the summertime, we get contractors loading up their gear and trying to get out before it gets too hot. And I understand that. But them firing up their equipment or throwing their gear around is annoying too at 6:30 when I'm having my coffee and trying to review my news of the day. I would like to suggest possibly getting out some type of a memo from the town to the individual businesses, not necessarily the property owners, but the individual businesses that operate back there. And just on an annual basis, remind them, you are adjacent to a residential zone. Please respect our neighbors. Please, stay within the operating hours. So that's my kind of generic comment for today. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing and hearing none, let's bring it back to council. If there's no objection, I'd like to continue this, okay?
Motion to continue.
Motion continue, second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Just to be clear, you're continuing it to the April 9th.
April 9th, council meeting.
Okay. Do we need to take a vote?
No, you did vote.
Close vote?
First and second, you can do it by vote.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Noes? Okay. See you next month. Let's move to item 17, 2-year extension on the time request vesting tentative map subdivision for the Grove. Hi again.
What you have before you is a public hearing for a request for a 2-year extension on a map that was approved, a tentative map that was approved May 9th of 2017. There are no other changes associated with this map at this time. The applicant is just requesting more time to do the things required of that map. In the conditions of approval, the first paragraph of that required the applicant to come back to the town council for that 2-year extension. So with your approval, they would get a 2-year extension to May 9th of 2021. Their map does expire on May 9th of this year. So the applicant is here also if you have any questions of him about the project. The project location is off of Humphrey Road and No Name Lane. There's quite a bit of remediation for toxic soils and things like that. So this time of year isn't good to start doing stuff like that. So he's on board to get it rolling, but was reaching that deadline and felt it best to file the extension request.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. Any questions from council, staff? Okay, I do have a question from the applicant, if you take the podium, please. So what is 2 years by you? What does that help do? I know it gives you more time, but more time to do what? This was approved a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago. So what does 2 years achieve?
Well, I guess we have to look at what we have achieved and where we're at in the process. Okay, so, you know, we went through the plans to the actual improvement plans with all the various agencies. And, you know, with SPMUD and PCWA and the PG&E, right? And Fish and Wildlife, the 401, Army Corps of Engineers, and the Department of Toxic Substance Control. So it's a small property. It falls within the current general plan. It falls within the current zoning, okay? And along the process, we also have to do studies for certain biological plants that may be on the property. You have to do them in the spring and in the fall. And taking all of the pieces together, we have very close to getting it all done, but we haven't. There are a lot of entities involved with 22 lots, and that's where we're at.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Do you want to entertain a motion? Excuse me. Thank you. Public comment. Thank you.
Jean Wilson, 4301 Barton Road, and I was on the commission when this was approved. And I would like to affirm that this is not an unusual situation to need that 2-year extension. The Planning Commission does this somewhat routinely, I think, for all the different agencies that have to be dealt with, especially with the toxics one, and anytime you get involved with Fish and Wildlife and Army Corps of Engineers, things don't happen quickly. So I'm very pleased that they are still with this project because I think it's one of the better ones that we approved. The lot sizes are more generous than were required. And I think this is a very good project, and it really needs to be able to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we'll bring it to council.
Move the approval of a 2-year extension.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Noes? Okay, extension passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move to item 18, ordinance amending section 2.4.010, changing council regular meeting time.
I have my cup of chamomile tea here, and hopefully I won't cough all over Cricket and make her sick. So this is a public hearing. This item actually was brought forward on a request by Mayor Underko to look at changing the council's normal, regularly scheduled meeting time from 7:30 to 6:30. You have in your packet the proposed ordinance that would do that. The section of the municipal code that actually governs this is 2.04.010, and it specifically says that regular meetings shall commence at 9:30 p.m. preceded by a closed session if we have any. Previously, council has actually considered other start times, pushing it back earlier, but that had never actually gone anywhere. And I think that the reason for that, although I wasn't here obviously, but I think that the reason for that was because council members' work schedules conflicted with that. So you have the proposed ordinance if you want to move forward with that. I will tell you that earlier today I just decided to do kind of a quick and dirty look at other local jurisdictions to see when others meet. So I actually looked at 21. I didn't look at a couple. I decided to go kind of full on, right? So I did 21. I looked at Placer County, Nevada County, Sacramento County, Yolo County, El Dorado County, and Amador County. None of those, so out of the 21 different cities, none of those cities actually start past 7 o'clock. We're the only one that does. The majority start at 6, so there are 9 that start at 6 p.m. 8 of them start at 7 p.m. 3 of them start at 6:30. 1 actually starts at 5:30, which I think is kind of crazy. And then obviously Loomis at 7:30. So we do have a policy that's part of your council kind of procedures that says that meetings will stop at 10 o'clock unless council takes an affirmative action to continue to move it forward. So I think that part of the idea of starting earlier is hopefully to get out earlier with some of the stuff that we potentially have on the horizon. Having that extra hour with that butting up against 10 o'clock would be nice. So I can answer questions if you have them. It's a public hearing, so you need to open for public comment as well.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, suggestions?
My comment is just I'd like to get started a little earlier because of what can happen with a large meeting agenda. And I don't want to be in a position of having to vote to continue a meeting past 10 o'clock. So I would like to see it earlier.
Clark Kretz?
Yes, I agree. Also, I used to commute a lot to Sacramento, and I feel like a 6:30 starting time would give people ample time to make the meetings. But, you know, a lot of people have kids, and it would be nice, I think, to accommodate that extra hour so people have more time with their families and get home at a better time. So I think it's great.
Okay, thank you. One of the reasons I proposed it was during the library meetings, when the town was involved in saving the library, there are a ton of kids who were involved in that, and that was past a lot of their bedtimes. I just wanted to make council meetings more inclusionary, and I hope that an earlier start date does that, start time, pardon. And so if that works, and we have greater showing and more people showing up, then great. If it doesn't work, then we can always switch it back. So having said that, I would propose a 6:30 start time. And having said that, we'll open it up for public comment.
Hello, Pam Blake again. 7:30 is a little on the late side, but I'm thinking 6:30 is too early because I did commute to downtown Sacramento and the traffic is only going to be getting worse and worse. I would propose a 7 o'clock time because that gives the commuters time to come home, pick up their kids, have dinner, and then come over here at 7 o'clock instead of 6:30. So you're talking 6:30, that's a big change of an hour, so hopefully there's other people that would like to talk, or you consider 7 o'clock instead of 6:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know. You 5911 Craig Court, Loomis. Your city manager did a survey, but when you recall, some of the large cities do start quite early, but they also get the large salaries, so I guess they're compensated. I did my own survey on Facebook, and I had 15 responses, which was quite a few. Of the 15 responses, 2 liked the 6:30 time, 2 liked the 7:30 time, and 11 liked the 7 o'clock time. And some of the arguments for the 7 o'clock time, not arguments, but statements were that they had a family and give them time to get their kids together and have dinner and be able to come to the meeting. And the other one, although I guess maybe they had a slower car like Jen than you do, was that if they got off work, or maybe they didn't get off right at 5, or maybe they rode the bus up here, that they felt sometimes it was pressing to get here by 6:30. So I would recommend a 7 o'clock time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane Isley, 4135 Hunters Drive, Loomis. I'm in favor of 6:30. I attended a lot of meetings, and it seemed like we had a lot of the meetings, planning commission meetings at the 6:30 time, and a lot of people were able to make it, so I would be in favor for you to try that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jean Wilson, 4301 Barton Road. I'm afraid that 6:30 time might be less inclusionary instead of more because of the difficulty of people getting home and being able to get here, and people with families, it doesn't really give them time to have dinner and get the kids to bed or something like that, or have somebody come in. If you change it to 6:30, those people, if you're trying to get them home in time for some family time, they're not going to get home for family time anyway, because it's going to be, 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. So you're not really helping in that score. And yes, it's true that people did come to the village meetings earlier than usual and they were packed out, but we also heard about it. It was not a happy situation for many people. They complained to us commissioners about having to come early, but they made the sacrifice because they were so intense about getting there for the village meetings. And so I don't really think that that's a good representation when it's an issue like that that is so important to people that they'll make that kind of sacrifice. I think it would be better to have 7 o'clock and try that for a while and be efficient. Maybe you can get enough extra done in that half hour, but I think it's putting more burden on people to have to be here at 6:30. And if you think about the fact that this has come up periodically, and if the reason was it didn't work for 5 council people to be here, how many members of the public are you shutting out from being here at 6:30? So I hope you will consider 7 o'clock instead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle Black, 6347 David. I agree. I think 7 o'clock is a much better start time than going with the 6:30. Back when I was doing what I was doing, I got off work at 6 and then I had to drive here from North Auburn, typically going above the speed limit, to then get home and try and slam food down my throat to then get to this meeting on time. So I think 7 o'clock is sufficient, and I think that you wouldn't be kind of cutting people down that don't have cars. I'm actually teaching my kids that right now. Not everyone does have a car, so to get a good representation of everybody to be here, I think 7 o'clock would be a good compromise in the middle of the two ideas. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. I knew this would be the most controversial item on the agenda. How you doing, Russ?
Good. Russ Kelly, I live at 4246 Barton Road. When I had a real job, I used to commute to Stockton. I would have never had a problem being here at 6:30. This is one night a week. A month. Maybe 2. I mean, if you can't get your family together in the rest of the month, maybe you've got bigger problems than just making a council meeting. And I think that 6:30 is fine. It works for a lot of other places. I have other committees I serve on, some of them for you guys, and we meet at 4:30. But 6:30 kind of fits everybody's schedule, and even if they're on a commute, it's not that big of a deal. So I appreciate you thinking about 6:30.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comment?
Thank you. Hi, Susan Dobies, 5570. I just want to say that I like the idea of an earlier meeting, whatever time you determine is the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
You knew I was going to do this. William Quimble Sr., 6280 Horseshoe Bar Road. I actually got home tonight. This is a ministry day for me. Some of you may know I'm a minister. I'm ministering to more people. So I got home at 10 to 7. So I'd be voted for 7 o'clock because I get home pretty late on Tuesdays because it's one of my heavy work days. So I'm a big fan of 7. Split the difference and go for 7. Thank you.
All right, opinions vary on this one. All right, any other public comment? Seeing and hearing none, we'll bring it back to council. I'm open to 7, 6:30. I just want to get it a little earlier, so I'll leave it up for discussion. Please, Jen.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for all the public comment because, I didn't realize a lot of the things that you mentioned. One of the things I didn't think about was dinner. Preparing for these meetings, and that's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm usually, a little nervous. But so I appreciate the public comment, and definitely makes a lot of sense to maybe come up with in the middle.
Okay, is that a 7 o'clock motion?
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the 7 o'clock because I remember I did work full-time and I have 3 children. And I did have to try to get dinner on the table for them and come to a meeting. So I worked till 5:30, and if I had to come too much earlier than 7, it wasn't easy to feed a family and come to a meeting. So in the future, you don't know who will be on the council. Right now, my children are all adults, so I don't have that problem anymore, but a lot of people, if we want younger people on the council that have families, you need to consider that they have children to deal with and babysitters possibly, and to feed them and make sure that they're in a safe environment before they come to a meeting.
Okay.
So I'm for the 7.
Okay. There's no perfect time for everybody, but we're going to do our best here. So we have a motion for 7 o'clock. We have a second. That sounds like a second from you, right?
That can be a second.
Okay.
This is just an introduction as a first reading, correct?
Yep. So we have 7. So 7 o'clock start time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Noes? Okay. Thank you. And we're going to, item 20, Taylor Road Mixed Use Maintenance District.
Mr. Mayor, can I make one comment? Just because there's been a lot of discussion about potential confusion. This item will be back for second reading and adoption in April and will not go into effect for 30 days after that. So the April and May meetings will be at the regular 7:30.
Okay.
Assuming you adopt it in April.
Let's make that clear. So April and May.
April and May would continue to be at
7:30. And so it would be June.
Would be the first.
7 o'clock. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, hi Britt. Item 20.
Good evening. I'm Britt Snipes, the Public Works Director. The item I got before you tonight is the Taylor Road Mixed Use Maintenance District. This is the first reading of this ordinance. This is one of these items that has to come back for a second reading. So this is the introduction for it. This is bringing forth the ballot. This is one of the conditions of approval for the project, that they form a maintenance district for those roads in that project.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
So it's a resolution. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's open up the public comment. Thank you, Britt. Public comment on this item?
The developer didn't want to come up with a question. Mike Uku is 5911 Craig Court. Oh, hey, Roger. Thanks a lot. I know you do that. If you look at the plan, there's two items I have a question about. One, it calls for a monthly street sweeping, but with their garbage bill, they'll be paying for weekly street sweeping. So I don't know why they would have it again. And then secondly, there's money in there to pay for fire hydrant inspection, but they're paying almost $300 a year parcel tax to the fire district, and one of the things that the fire district does is inspect the fire hydrants. So those two things seem to be a duplication of service.
Britt, can you address that?
Fire hydrants is checking the valves on the fire hydrants, which is more than, a little more detailed than what the fire department does. But I will definitely check the street sweeping to make sure that they're not getting double charged for that particular item.
Okay. Thank you.
And then if either one of those are redundant, then we'll remove them from the maintenance district.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing and hearing none, we'll bring it back to council. Questions, comments, staff? Seeing and hearing none. Do we want to entertain a motion?
Motion to adopt resolution with the, I guess would I add the language to the duplications? If there's duplications, we'll remove them.
Okay. We have a motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 20 passes. Okay, tonight we are going to do committee reports. We'll start on that end, and for this is a new thing for some people, but each council member sits on a committee or more than one committee, regional committees, including SACOG, PCTPA, Air Pollution District, SP Mud Ad Hoc Committee. We have a library representative. So last month, Councilmember Duncan proposed that each of us. Was it Jan? Was it Jan? Was it Jan?
With me.
Excuse me. Okay, Jan proposed that each of us give committee reports to the work that we're doing on our respective committees. So let's give that a try. Councilmember Duncan, anything to report?
Well, I sit on the Pioneer Community Energy Board, and as everyone is well aware of the PG&E bankruptcy, what's going on with that, and the concern for wildfires is a major concern with the Pioneer community as it is with everyone. So what's been going on with Pioneer in the past year, for those of you, I'm sure everyone's aware of Pioneer Community Energy, and what it is an aggregating, community choice aggregator. What Pioneer does is buys energy and bundles it and sends it across PG&E's lines to meet the needs of our people here in Placer County. And except for Roseville, Loomis, Auburn, Colfax, Lincoln, and Rockland are all part of this, along with Placer County. So what it does is we actually have lower rates than PG&E, and I see someone shaking their head. Are you solar?
No, with them and our rates are higher.
Well, that doesn't sound correct. So I'll tell you what we'll have is a conversation afterwards about your billing, but also I would like to see in the future one of the people from Pioneer, the technical experts, would come in and be able to talk about that with you. But the other thing about Pioneer that's real important is, unlike PG&E, which is an investor-owned utility, Pioneer is for the community. And all the money that we get will go back into jobs and local projects, whereas PG&E pays stockholders. So the people of Placer County are the stockholders in this. So there are a lot of things going on with Pioneer as far as grants going towards cleaning up areas where there is slash, and there's a possibility that we'll get some biomass energy from using the dead trees from the forest. And you know, Rio Bravo is a plant that does biomass over in Lincoln. So I want to talk to you about your bill, because that's just should not be happening. But my other board appointment is with the Placer County Air Pollution Control District. I'm not laughing at your bill. I'm just like, oh, there's always someone, you know. But Placer County Air Pollution Control District is also interested in biomass and cleaning up the forests as far as the dead trees. So, like they say, we have to burn the dead trees anyway, so you might as well try to get some energy out of it. The other thing that's been going on is we've been granting or using grant money from the state and the feds to buy fire trucks, one up in Forest Hill and one in Placer Hills. I believe it's over there by Middle Vista. And so there's a lot of good programs. The other one is the farmer project, where there's grants going to farmers to update their equipment so that it's less polluting. And also, the reason the fires are so critical to air pollution control is that all these gains that we make in, you know, bringing the air pollution down gets wiped out with one major fire, you know, like Paradise or Santa Rosa. So there's a lot of work being done on trying to not only get energy, but also to help prevent the fires themselves. So that's what's going on.
Thank you, Jeff. And I should just add, we can also elect to pass on comment too. There's nothing to report. So, now he says it.
So I sit on the Placer County Economic Development Board, and unfortunately we haven't had a quorum available for the last couple meetings, and I'm hoping to actually make our first meeting in April. I attended as an audience member of the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, and I think Brian's going to talk about that later. I sat with the business committee with the town of Loomis. We talked about upcoming projects that we have planned coming up. We have Civic Lab. We have the purpose of that committee is to promote business growth, and it was very exciting meeting because there's a lot to talk about in town. Lots of changes happening with some new businesses coming in, and potential reopening of some important businesses that have been closed for a while. So that was a great meeting. Let's see, I attended the library board meeting where we talked about bringing them under the auspices of the town, which has already happened, and that's great. And I also attended as an audience member for the Pioneer Board.
Thank you. I'll go. I sit on SACOG, and this year we are entering into a new RENA cycle. For anybody who doesn't know what RENA is, it's an abbreviation for essentially the allocation of affordable housing that each community, city, and county is given by the state, and that's based on an extensive formula. But last RENA cycle, Loomis had to add 129 affordable housing We had a zone for 129 affordable housing units. We did that in the village location. This year, this next round, we will see. It's too early to say how many units we're going to have to rezone for, but that's a big thing on a lot of people's mind. The governor is being very aggressive when it comes to allocation of housing. He's talking about requiring up to 50% more affordable housing in each community above and beyond what the level is right now. That's all being worked out at the legislature and the governor's administration right now, so we will see. But in the next coming year or so, the town is going to have to identify another property that will accommodate affordable housing. Affordable housing, not the generic definition of affordable housing, but the technical definition being subsidized housing. And so nobody gets off with that assignment. We're going to have to go through an update on our housing element as well, which will incorporate our arena numbers. So that's going to be a heavy lift by the town. And Sean, if you have any comments to make.
I just wanted to add something on the governor's stuff and the legislature. There are actually 200 bills right now in the legislature between the Assembly and the Senate looking at forcing cities and counties to increase their housing production. So I don't know what's going to end up happening with that, but it's not looking good. So
the big conversation right now is trying to tie transportation funding with housing, and in the event that cities or counties don't allocate enough and are not compliant with their housing elements and HCD requirements, then they get their transportation money pulled. That's really difficult for some cities because while we might be zoning for property, we can't control what the market does or doesn't do. So stay tuned on that. Let's see, the president just came out with his budget and he's proposing slashing federal transportation funding by 20%. That's a difficult one for a lot of communities. But that's early on in the budget process. So regionally, we're keeping an eye on what's going on with the federal budget. And there's lots else going on, but I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. At PCTPA, there's discussions of a sub-county transportation sales tax that they did some polling here. They're doing polling throughout the area on the likelihood of passage and what that would include. In that, Loomis is kind of on the border of that, so if we don't poll very high, they'll drop us off of that, which means Roseville, Rockland, and basically the jurisdictions around us, that tax will increase there. So the Loomis residents who do a good portion of their shopping outside of town will still feel that.
Oh, shop at Loomis.
Yeah, we went over the leakage before you got out. So, so that's one thing that we need to that we're keeping our eye on. Also, as Tim touched on, the SB1 funding, the governor is wanting to tie that to housing. So for money that's allocated to us through the state, they're wanting to tie that into housing. So that's kind of one thing that will be interesting to see kind of how all of that plays out. But that's one thing that is also on our radar as far as transportation funding goes.
Is there, can I ask a clarification question? Are they saying that they have to actually build the houses?
Can we take this off?
Sorry, yeah.
Let's do this.
But
yeah.
Thank you.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I'm on Possum County Flood Control and Water Conservation District, and I have nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Future agenda items. Anyone requesting to add anything on future agenda? Seeing and Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.